Thank you, John. Good afternoon, everyone. I got a little nostalgic looking at Lou Willie's picture on the wall. Lou actually was my boss at Citizens Federal Savings Bank 40-some years ago. So anytime I see him, he was a great boss too, Lou the fourth, who is his grandson. And I have the pleasure of introducing today's speaker, Deborah Bowie. Deborah is a nonprofit and public sector executive with more than 2 decades of experience leading organizations through growth, through change, and when it's necessary, even through crisis. She currently serves as president and CEO of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, an opportunity that brings her back to the Magic City, where she previously worked as a journalist, served as chief of staff for Birmingham Mayor Larry Langford, and held a role of vice president at the former Birmingham Regional Chamber of Commerce. Now, most recently, she served as a director in the Ginsburg Center for Inclusion and Community Engagement at the University of Central Florida. Her career spans philanthropy, local government, higher education, and she previously served as executive director of the One Pulse Foundation, where she guided the national effort to memorialize victims of one of the deadliest mass shootings in U.S. history. She served as interim city manager for the city of Gainesville, Florida, president and CEO of the United Way of North Central Florida, and in senior leadership roles with chambers of commerce across the South. She has a bachelor's degree from Xavier University in New Orleans, a master's in public administration from the University of Central Florida, and also she is the proud mother of 4 children, including 17-year-old triplets. So none of us can beat that. So with that, I give you the new leader of the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute, Deborah Bowie. Deborah.
Good afternoon. That one last line is what people stay stuck on. Did he say triplets? And she is standing. I am, because they're 17. I am so pleased. I'm having a moment being back here after 14 years, but an honor to be back before this club, particularly at this time and in this role. But before I dive in, I want to share with you some of the questions that I've been asked in the few weeks that I've been back, 2 in particular. The first question I've been asked is the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute still relevant? I've been asked that question. And the second question is, why do I want this job? So I'm going to answer those 2 things. I promise I am. But before I do that, I want to take us back. 63 years ago, almost to the month, this nation was sitting on a tinderbox. In 1963 January, Alabama inaugurated George Wallace as its governor. He took his oath on the very steps where Jefferson Davis had once been sworn in as President of the Confederacy, and he declared without apology, segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Wallace's first acts were not symbolic. He fired the professional public safety director who had protected the Freedom Riders, and he replaced them with a segregationist, turning the Alabama Highway Patrol into an instrument of suppression and terror against the Black freedom movement. At the federal level, courage was also in short supply. As the nation approached its 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, the Kennedy administration hesitated to even issue a statement, fearful that they would alienate Southern white voters. And then the country began to fracture in full view. By mid-1963, more than 20,000 people had been arrested in nonviolent protests across the South. On Good Friday, April 12th, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was jailed in Birmingham, where he wrote what would become the moral blueprint of the civil rights movement, his seminal letter from Birmingham jail. In just the first half of that year, white supremacists murdered 10 people and carried out at least 35 bombings in response to segregation. In May, the world watched Birmingham police unleash hoses and Yep, trying to get the slide to go. Unleashed hoses and police dogs on children during the Children's Crusade. That incident became viral before viral became a word. That incident of pictures around Kelly Ingram Park hit the newsstands across the globe and solidified an extremely shameful chapter in Alabama history. On June 12th, just hours after President Kennedy finally addressed civil rights on a national television, Medgar Evers was murdered in his own driveway in his home in Jackson, Mississippi, where his wife and children waited for him inside the house. And we all know on September 15th, 1963, Klan members bombed the 16th Street Baptist Church right here in Birmingham, killing 4 little girls. All of this happened in 1 year. And here's the part that we just cannot sanitize. The fire hoses and bombs were not the only threat. The other threat was silence. The comfortable distance of people who thought this just wasn't their fight. Birmingham had forced the nation to choose, not between comfort and conflict, but between courage and complacency. So 63 years later, in the centennial of Black History Month, which is right now, and on the eve of our 250th birthday, we are still grappling to remember what this nation endured and what it resisted becoming. It's almost like we have just forgotten our history, not just the history, but we forgot the lesson. So when I'm asked by people, why did I accept this opportunity to lead the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute and whether the Institute matters, I simply answer them because forgetting is easy. And history has shown us it's extremely dangerous to forget. I believe it is all of our duty to preserve the civic infrastructure that carries truth forward to the next generation. And as an American, it is our unique calling to preserve the very liberties that this nation was founded on. Liberty, equality, and inalienable rights. So let's bring us back to present day. Since opening our doors in 1992, the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute has welcomed in more than 4 million visitors. That's about an average of 160,000 people a year. From all over, not just the United States, from all over the world. In its first week of operation, more than 25,000 people walked through the front doors, and today the Institute serves as the region's most significant educational and heritage tourism anchor, engaging visitors through its exhibitions, adding to its archives with relevant and timely research, and expanding its reach through its educational programming. More telling than the attendance, over 95% of the people over the years who have been polled about why did you choose to come to Birmingham, in their answers have included, because I wanted to come see the Institute. So the Institute is not simply a museum. We refer to it that way, but the Institute is a research center. It's a learning institution, a volunteer hub. We had our volunteer appreciation reception yesterday, and 51 people packed the room, and it was wonderful to see people from all over the community, from Starbucks to those who had been with us since day one, who give their time every single week to augment the staff to lead folks into the building and take them on the tours. We have an archival gallery of unsung heroes who are local, names of people who you've never known and never met. We are a Smithsonian affiliate. We are the cornerstone of the Birmingham Civil Rights National Monument. Someone recently reminded me that the building itself is not sacred, but the land where it sits is. The Institute is an essential piece of the city's civic infrastructure. It carries forward history with accuracy, integrity, and purpose. Today, the Civil Rights Institute offers a series of permanent exhibits that are designed to move visitors through the civil rights movement, not as an abstraction, but as a lived experience. It's chronological, it's emotional, and most of all, it's moral. The journey begins in the Barriers Gallery, for those of you who haven't been ever or in a long time. That's the gallery that confronts life under Jim Crow between 1920 and 1954. Then there's the Confrontation Gallery. That examines the violence and intimidation used to enforce that system. The next gallery is the Movement Gallery. That's where the story turns to resistance and courage, tracing the pivotal events from 1955 to 1963. The Processional Gallery offers a moment of reckoning and resolve with life-sized figures moving through freedom, framed by a direct view of Kelly Ingram Park, where children once faced fire hoses and police dogs. In the Milestones Gallery, we honor the architects of change, including Birmingham leaders like Dr. A.G. Gaston. Completed in 2009, the newest gallery was aptly called Human Rights because it features modern civil rights struggles that extend beyond Birmingham, entering the global struggle for human dignity and freedom. Those are just the galleries. We've been fortunate over the years to build on that experience with our traveling exhibits, and I do mean traveling. So if a company says to us, can you curate an exhibit for us, our archivist and our team can pack that up and you can display that in your place of business. We've had many requests over the years to do exactly that. We also have original programming, powerful exhibits that are curated to meet the moment. We have our own oral history project, preserving firsthand accounts of movement before they are lost to time. One of the gems of the Institute is a program called the Legacy Youth Leadership Program, which is headed up by our own historian, the incomparable Barry McNeely. The program takes high schoolers through a year-long civic engagement journey, exposing them to social justice, civic leadership, and civil rights scholarship. This program is phenomenal. These kids come from all over. It's a very diverse, robust group of young leaders who often return to the Institute. They come from all over the metro area, and they're joined together by the quest to preserve the civic memory that is Birmingham's moral history. And then, of course, each year we honor contemporary leadership through the Fred L. Shuttlesworth Human Rights Award. That is designed to highlight someone who has demonstrated a sustained commitment to advancing civil and human rights, the rule of law, and democratic principles. But if you think that that is simply the end of the Civil Rights Institute's mission, please think again. Something's happening right now. History is not something that we inherit. It's something that we know we can lose. Today, our mission has been turbocharged. All of us know across this country we are witnessing a steady erosion of hard-won civil and human rights, protections that we all thought were settled law. They're being contested, narrowed, challenged, rolled back through courts, legislation, and policy. Just last month, a lawsuit was filed in the city of Philadelphia against the National Park Service, who disgracefully removed placards detailing the lives of 9 enslaved people who were held in captivity by George and Martha Washington, the National Park Service, history being erased in 2026. Rights that were secured through the sacrifices of thousands of Americans, many of them right here in Birmingham, and being reframed as an inconvenience. Or, the new phrase of the day, too woke. Or, partisan politics. I don't know when history became partisan. The truth is being negotiated or being treated as it's negotiable, frameable by the storyteller who tells it. As our Black History exhibit this month, and you all have this on your table, this is actually our brand new exhibit that we are putting together because this month is the centennial of Black History Month. And this team has worked hard to curate an exhibit called When the Victors Write the Algorithm, Power, Propaganda, and the Making of American Memory, all month. And then there are programs throughout the month. So if you haven't been to the Institute, we invite you to come back and engage in this conversation with the younger generation. Because as we know, history is living. The constant drumbeat of disinformation that lurks in social media presents a renewed threat for the protection of civil and human rights. It's an opportunity for the Institute, an opportunity that we are all meeting in this moment. Our mission must extend beyond simply remembrance. We must build an organization dedicated to sharpening moral clarity that is foundational to what happened in Birmingham 63 years ago. We must remind every single generation that democracy does not defend itself, that human rights do not sustain themselves without courage, accountability, and truth. So, as we look ahead, we know that the Institute is entering a new chapter. We have a new board, we have new leadership, we have a small and mighty team, and we have a lot of rebuilding to do. We have our challenges. The building that we are in is aging. Many of our systems are at or near the end of their life cycle. We must diversify our funding. So the board has its work cut out for it as we begin to focus on what will happen to the Institute as an anchor institution for the district. We know that we need to leverage our mission and impact. We need to raise both interest. We need to raise money. We need to bring in technology. We need to bring in a new generation, many of whom have no connection to 63 years ago. So I want to close with a call back to the original question: why do institutions like the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute still matter? Tomorrow is the birthday of someone who we all know in this room, someone who we have called the mother of the movement, Rosa Parks. We know her as a tired, older woman on a Montgomery bus who refused to give up her seat when she was told to do so by a white bus driver. Her defiance ignited a movement that was already in full swing. What you may not know is that little Miss Rosa was a rebel long before that day she refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus. At tender age of 10, this little girl from Pine Hill, Alabama, dared a little white boy who had tried to push her off of a sidewalk so that he could skate. She picked up a brick, and she didn't simply warn him, she dared him. When her grandmother scolded her and warned her of the dangers of defending herself, she simply replied, "I would rather be lynched than to be mistreated." History prefers the tired Rosa Parks, a quiet, safe, accidental storyline of a woman tired on a bus. But the truth is, Rosa Parks was not a tired woman who just snapped one day. She knew from an early age that she had rights equal to every single person that she had come into contact with, and that human dignity cannot be earned because we are all born with it. So as I close really with a question of my own, and that is, what kind of civic memory are we building for the next generation? And if institutions like the Civil Rights Institute don't protect it, then who will? It is my privilege and honor to be here with you today and to be leading such an important organization to the city and the world, and I'm happy to take questions. And surely you have some, even if it's about the triplets. Yes. Yes, so the building was opened in 1992, and the challenge that we have is that this building has a lot of aging infrastructure. We don't own the building, the city owns the building. And so we're stewards of the building, but there are some significant issues there over time. When you've got something on your books for 30 years plus, it's really not on your books anymore. So we've got some challenges ahead of us because as we build out programming and as we look to strengthen partnerships, we have an aging building with AC, boilers, chillers, the roof, lights in the exhibit. All of those things need care and attention. And the city, I think, has done its best, but we're at a place now where I think there's just some serious conversations we need to have about the infrastructure of the building. And I say this with all love, that politicians like to build new buildings and then kick the can down the road for successive leadership to figure out how to maintain them. And I think we're at that place now. Yes. Sure. So I'll give you a big picture. Right now, our biggest funder is the city of Birmingham. Not a great position to be in because we all have witnessed in the last year what it means to rely heavily on state, federal, and local funding. But the city has been a big partner. A lot of institutions went through a lot of restrictions in terms of their ability to raise money through COVID. And so this organization has had a lot of restructuring to do, but we are absolutely looking to diversify our funding. We rely heavily, of course, on our donors, and all donors are important, whether it's the person who walks in and buys a ticket to go through the exhibit, but we also have corporate sponsorships. We also have federal grants. But the key to, I think, a healthy portfolio is to have a very diverse funding stream that's not heavily reliant on public sector. And so we are always looking for corporate opportunities to partner. I mentioned earlier that some entities have said we want to be able to have a curated exhibit in our lobby, and so we welcome those opportunities. People can purchase those exhibits as a tie back to the Institute. I think the key for us in the future is figuring out how to steward those relationships where we're sometimes going to those businesses, but we also look for those opportunities to partner for our educational programming, just like the program you have on your table. So we look for those types of sponsorships as well. Yeah. That's a great question, and I'm about 3 weeks in, so I would love to talk with you about that because I haven't been asked that question yet. Just so you all know, we literally have a brand new board, and their first in-person meeting is actually this month. So when I tell you a lot of conversations to be had, and we have a lot of new board members mixed in with some of our veterans. So I think for us, trying to sort of strategize what are the key things that we need to focus on this year and then how we can connect. We all know that across the street from us, the church is going through a major expansion. And so there are some opportunities there, I think, in the district that we need to take a look at how we can be a better partner and support each other. So if you have information about that, please see me. Okay? Yes?
Has the current administration's crackdown on DEI policies and rules affected?
Well, I can tell you what my experience was before I came here because I worked at the University of Central Florida, and absolutely the crackdown influenced everything that was happening. UCF is a Hispanic-serving institution, and so Hispanic-serving institutions are not receiving federal funding anymore. So for a school like UCF, which is a commuter school of 70,000 students, a lot of that funding goes away. So I can't speak for what the impact has been at the Institute. I don't think that we have sought a lot of federal dollars in those buckets. We've been fortunate to be buffered by a lot of local banks and organizations here in Birmingham, but I think it just gives us cause to think about. A lot of that funding that was being given by the federal government now might be opportunities for us to look for some family foundations and national foundations that have taken up the cause. Yes? Absolutely. Well, the first thing I would say is that there are people here who have not been or haven't been in a long time, and it's always a good time to come back, right? I mean, history we know is living, and so I mentioned our newest gallery was 2009. There are additional galleries or expansions that we would, I think, do well to be talking about from a strategy standpoint. But the best thing you can do is just come support us. When you have family and friends who are visiting, suggest to them when you're in Birmingham, go by the Civil Rights Institute. When we have major events, we're going to have our big block party again this year on Juneteenth. It was very successful last year. We blocked off the district and we had a DJ and face painting and something for the kids. Come to those events. These events are just as much for this community as they are for the visitors. Just last week, we had someone come from Florida, where I am, to say that they were purposeful in visiting us. They were going to Montgomery, they were going to Atlanta, because for them, they wanted their children to learn the truth. And I will have to say this as a former journalist. There's a lot of disinformation and children relying on what they see on TikTok, God forbid. Institutes like BCRI are important because that's the keeper of the record. So it is for the young people who come through, who are for the first time hearing about folks who maybe we all grew up knowing about, it's important that we understand the role Birmingham played in that movement and that we expose new generations to what it meant for people, everyday people, to stand up in the fight and fight for their civil rights. That is not an old message, that is a today's message. So if you have family and friends, encourage them to visit, and you visit, please. Yes?
First of all, I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. I'm not from Birmingham originally,
I love that. So the name that you need to write down is Ebony Wallace, and you need to come drop her an email. You can drop Ebony an email at ewallace@bcri.org, and she leads our programming. Ebony and her team, our small team, that means all of us, were involved in this program for Black History Month, and you will probably notice this purposeful panel of young communicators. So we are always looking for ways to bring new programming in, and so she would be your best contact, but we welcome any partnership. Thank you very much. Yes?
First, I echo what this gentleman said. Thank you for your passion. I can't imagine waking up every morning and coming to your job and what falls on your shoulders to keep you going. And thank you to the board for all that y'all do. You know, the Civil Rights Institute, I say, is priceless. And I don't lose, that term can get loosely used, but in this instance, I think it's absolutely appropriate. It's priceless. And I don't want you to have to worry about an air conditioning system, or the plumbing, or security. I really want the city of Birmingham and the county to step forward and provide to you the funds that are needed to ensure that when you come to work, you're focused on your mission and not paying the water bill because it's twice as much as it should be. So I hope more people in this audience today will stand behind the need that you have for infrastructure improvements. That's the easy part of it.
Right.
We should take that off the table, in my opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Mentor of mine, named Deborah once told me that you should start how you want to finish. So when this is over, what do you hope your legacy will be at BCRI?
Oh, that's such a great question. I think for me, the legacy will be, this is an important community to me, and this work is important. On a personal note, in 1967, it was illegal for my parents to be married. My mother is a white Jewish woman. My dad is an African-American Caribbean man. So the personal mission for me would be to see the Institute be fully funded, independent and strong enough to continue this work, that no one has to worry. Ms. Odessa Woolfolk doesn't have to go to bed at night and worry about what's going to happen to this gem of an organization. I believe that is possible right here in this community, and I believe that we can get there. So my dream would be to see this robust programming, and that the new generation can take up the mantle and continue the work, because as we know, the fight for human dignity continues. So thank you for that. Thank you all. Thank you.
Deborah, congratulations again on your new position. Thank you for accepting the board's offer. Welcome back to Birmingham. Thank you for helping us kick off Black History Month, and thank you for reminding us that we need to remember, not erase, our history. And in appreciation of your time with us, we're making a donation to the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute. Now, we've got a minute or two, and so as a member of the board, of BCRI, I'm going to add a little bit to two of the questions that you were asked. These were all very thoughtful questions, and David, thank you for your nice comments. Carla's question, if you go by the Institute lots of days, you'll see lots of yellow school buses lined up in front of it. So we are doing everything we can to get the Institute on the minds of teachers and principals and school superintendents. We have it's a living institute where a lot of education goes on. It may be we're not doing as good a job as we should of reminding everybody here in town that they need to go to the Institute, but I spent 10 years in D.C. You'd be amazed how many people never been to the National Cathedral in Washington. So a problem we deal with. Guy, to your question. Now, I may get fired from the board by venturing into this topic, but I'm going to be very candid with you. 2 months ago, we had our biggest fundraising dinner is the Fred Shuttlesworth Dinner. And we presented the Shuttlesworth Award to a very distinguished American. That's former United States Attorney General Eric Holder. He came down, spent a good bit of time with us. We got former United States Senator Doug Jones, who knew him well, to introduce him. It was a great event. Some of y'all may have been there. But Eric Holder is currently heading up a national effort addressing redistricting and some of the political things that are going on regarding redistricting in this country. And so we had one donor, once they learned who was going to get the Shuttlesworth Award, retracted their commitment and did not become the sponsor that they were planning on being. So we are operating in a very difficult time. And so I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. I may get in trouble for saying. I'm just being candid with you. You ask a very good question, and these are difficult times. All right. Let me say some thank yous. Thank you to all of our guests who are here with us. If you saw something that you like, we do this every Tuesday. We've had a lot of members who started out attending as a guest. I want to thank the BCRI board that's here and Barron, who is our number 2 guy at the Institute and has done a great job. I've been honored to work with him for the last, how many years you've been here? 3? 2? Okay. It just seems like 3, doesn't it? Jessica, I want to welcome you as our newest member, and again, be at the badge table. And next week, folks, it's going to be a little bit different. We are going to have a joint meeting with Rotary in this room. We are going to have a friend of mine who I've known since 1997, Michelle Peluso. And since we got a minute or 2 extra, I'll tell you a little bit about Michelle. If you want to know how I got her here, you'll have to come next week and hear that story briefly. But she's going to talk about leadership and management principles, and she may talk a little bit about cosmetics and health and wellness products. There's one person in this room who told me earlier today, and I will not embarrass her, but she said she has so many Revlon products in her house she can't count them. Michelle has been at Revlon for a couple of years. Before that, she was the global marketing person for CVS, the pharmacy. She has done digital marketing for Citigroup. She was the CEO of Travelocity. You'll hear a more elaborate introduction next week. But she's a go-getter, and I'm pleased that she accepted my invitation, and I hope we have weather in New York that permits her to get on a plane and come down here. So y'all pray for good weather in New York City. And with that, folks, we are adjourned.